Ciao Juventini of the world, my name is Giuseppe, welcome back on the channel. Do you remember that famous Belgian comic where the captain is saying to Tintin, Tintin, what a week, huh? Tintin is waiting a second and then he's replying, Captain, it's only Wednesday. But I have a bad news, it's only Tuesday. But I have exactly the same desperate face as the captain. And I believe that all of us, all the Juventini, we have exactly the same desperate feeling as the captain. Yesterday evening, after recording the video about the motivations of the CONI, the 75 pages with Italian lawyer languages, well, I made a video yesterday, tried to explain step by step, long version. If you didn't know yet, if you didn't watch it yet and you really want to know step by step what has been said, click the link, you will be redirected. Well, after recording that video, I went of course on social media to understand a bit what was happening, trying to have more information. What do I see? Sport Italia, it's an Italian television, a picture, a screenshot of it, where they were already playing with a new version of the ranking, with Juventus not second anymore with 66 points, but Juventus 7th with 57 points. That's a deduction of minus 9 points. Yesterday in the video, I said, and I repeat today, nobody is stating that Juventus will lose 9 points. That 9 is the number of points that Juventus will have deducted. This comes from a spread news, fake or not, I don't know, from Gazzetta dello Sport, but we have no evidences. The only thing that we are sure, because it was said yesterday, is that Juventus will have a new penalty, but that new penalty can be 3 points, 4 points, 5, 6, 9, 12, 15, maybe even more, we don't know. 9 is just a news from Gazzetta dello Sport. Then if they already know, well, that's strange. Strange that Gazzetta dello Sport knows already something before the lawyers of Juve. Anyway, we will wait, we will see. They have 30 days to tell us how many points we will have deducted. But Sport Italia, in the way that they were really unprofessional to already take 9 points out of Juve, maybe they were right in one thing. The fact that Juventus is out of European competitions. Guys, before explaining you a bit better and before speaking about Giuntoli, attenzione, super important, and also Ealing Jr., Sekulov and other players, I'm asking you and repeat you what I told you yesterday, put a maximum of like on this specific video. For one reason, and it worked, we saw it yesterday. More you like the video, more the algorithm of YouTube is putting that video in the foreground and more Juventini are reached. Because I know it's difficult. It's a really difficult moment, but also a really difficult topic to understand. On social media, I saw a lot of things that were correct, really well reported, some other things that were not 100% correct. And that can mislead to understand what is happening. And I know, again, Italian lawyer language is difficult to translate. First of all, to understand, and then to translate. We go with what I told you. Sport Italia might be right in one thing, that Juventus is out of European competition. Tuttosport is opening their page with Juve, ti levano l'Europa. Juventus, they are taking away from you Europe. They are not speaking about Champions League only. They are saying Europe, out of European competition. Well, I will try to make it and try to explain you with simple words. Basically, Juventus has no chance to participate to European competition in 23-24. Because there are two ways of not letting Juventus being participating. One, not entering in the top 4. And how can Juventus not entering on the top 4? Of course, with sporting the result if you lose the next 4 games in Serie A. But also if they deduct you points so that you are out of the top 4, but probably also of the top 6 UEFA and Conference League. And then another one is not winning the Europa League. And then you're out without any penalty from UEFA and so on. But then there is another thing. If Juventus, as they are stating and confirming, is guilty of Article 4, sporting disloyalty, well, UEFA can enter. UEFA can enter and then it can ban whatever. Even if you win Europa League, they can say, I know, you were disloyal. You are out of European competition. I explained this already yesterday. They are not speaking a lot about UEFA yet. This is my scenario, and you will see that there is a link in a few seconds. But basically, that's what they are saying. You will not participate. Basically, the Federal Court of Appeal, when they were watching the dossier, and they had to reformulate, and they will confirm the points, less or more, we will see. They said, you know what? all the points that Juventus tried to defend themselves, well, we don't care. It is what it is. It is what it is. The sporting court, they did their job. And it is what it is. They don't explain really well what is happening or why, well, why not. No, they just say, it is what it is. Sporting court is right. Juve is guilty. Juve is guilty because they created a disloyal system. Are there evidences? No. Were there existence rules that were broken? No, but Juventus is guilty because the ex-management of Juve was guilty with Agnelli, Nedved, Paratici, also Arrivabene. The funny thing, Arrivabene was not even in charge, he was not even working for Juve in the period that Juventus is in trial for. Something totally incoherent, but it is what it is. And the message is from the Federal Court of Appeal, well, the sporting court, they have different methods than the real law. Basically, they can do whatever they want. They have their own methods. They have the decision rights to do whatever they want. If they want to punish you on Article 4, it is what it is. Whatever, is it right or wrong, they can punish you. If you did plusvalenza with 2 teams, they can decide that only one is punished. They can take one as an example. This is where we are in at the moment, with simple words, my friends. Gazzetta dello Sport is saying, resta la slealtà. Article 4, disloyalty is remaining. But then you see, and that's something that we all have to think about, on the right side of the page, the different scenario. With Gazzetta dello Sport is always a bit well informed about these topics, always looks like sending already messages to Juve. You know, instead of sending a WhatsApp, they are writing an article. And here are saying the idea of a patteggiamento. So, if Juve is asking for it, that's what Gazzetta is saying, things can be closed with a plea bargain, making a deal, so that the effects of the court cases are contained within this season and not the next one, because there's also the danger of splitting this season, next season. The way out could be a penalty for the capital gains, so some points deducted, and a big fine for the wages. And the UEFA will back down. Do you remember what I told you? We don't speak enough about UEFA. Gazzetta dello Sport is reporting, is using again the word UEFA. And it's not a mystery that I have a good memory and that I go back to the 1st of April. No, it's not a joke. Where we saw a beautiful article from Fabiana Della Valle. Of course, when I use the word beautiful, sarcasm. UEFA, Juve. If Juventus is asking forgiveness, if Juventus is going out of the Super League, UEFA can potentially close an eye, but therefore they need that all the management of Juve with Agnelli leaves, what already happened on the 1st of April. This is the first step. Second step, that they are saying publicly, we are going out of the Super League. Guys, if you are doing 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1, we know the origin of the problem. Ceferin, UEFA, they don't want that Agnelli see his Juventus, even if he's not anymore in Juventus, participating to European competition, as long as Juventus is still holding to the Super League. And that's where everything starts. Anyway, we will speak about other interesting things, more on the field things, but let me first clarify something, because yesterday I saw a lot of Juventini correctly also saying, how is it possible again that Juventus was penalized for plusvalenza because of transfer market? Transfer market, that was actually a site done by a German geek, said publicly himself, that is putting actually values like this without a real mathematic calculation. Well, guys, you have to pay attention, because it's really difficult, and you see it with the decision of number 0128 TFNSD 2122 from the April 22 April, disaster to understand. But when you're reading it in Italian, relaxed, without being influenced, you can really read that they are explaining actually that they reviewed the dossier, and actually they are taking again the example of transfer market because it was used in the first trial in April 2022, so 1 year ago, where Juventus was not guilty. They were acquitted. Do you remember that first trial where a lot of teams were involved, 9 teams in total? All of them were acquitted. What they're saying, based there, because of transfer market, that was actually what was what was taken into consideration? Well, Juventus was acquitted, and then they continue with the other explanation and so on and so on. So it's not transfer market that they are based on. But I told you, and I repeat you, Juventus is not guilty of plusvalenza. Juventus is guilty of Article 4 because they created, according to the Sporting Court, a system. Anyway, this is an important thing to understand, that pay attention what you read online. Well, we have a good news. And then we transition to Giuntoli. The Sciglio went under surgery and it was successful. Look, we have again to split the football player and the person. I wish really the best to Mattia De Sciglio. Come back stronger if this is possible. And now we go to the other news. Gazzetta dello Sport is going with Giuntoli on the right side. Giuntoli is leaving. Juventus is impressing on Giuntoli. They are preparing the offer to sign him a 3-year contract. Corriere dello Sport, bigger already Giuntoli, and already bigger words, because they are saying Giuntoli said yes. He will be the sporting director of the Bianconeri. To Napoli, Accardi will go, the sporting director of Empoli. Giuntoli in Tuttosport is already leaving, is already saying goodbye. Juventus in his mind, Juventus on top, in priority, Juventus leading the run, because there are already words or rumors about other non-Italian clubs on Giuntoli, but looks like there is only one way, it is Juventus. Guys, I don't know if yes or no Giuntoli will really become our sporting director, but one thing is sure: if you have Gazzetta dello Sport, Corriere dello Sport that is really close to Napoli, if you have Tuttosport that is close to Juve, that are all going into one direction, Giuntoli, sporting director, well, 1 + 1 + 1, again, mathematical things, what the other ones are not doing, I try to do it. Looks like they are close. That can be a good news, because Giuntoli, it's not the scout, Attenzione, it's not a scout, he's a real sporting director. Scouting is one part. Leading a team of scouts is a bigger thing for him, more than scouting himself. But that can be a really beautiful news. And he's already thinking with Juventus to have some people from other teams, like Stefanelli from Cesena, that he already know, and so on. This is important for Juventus. Whatever will happen, Europa or not Europa, one thing is sure, it's important to have a sporting management that is missing now since a few months. So, even Gazzetta dello Sport Insider are saying Juventus in pressing on Giuntoli, that is closer, and De Laurentiis can free himself without paying that 1-year clause. Paul Pogba will be there. With Giuntoli, maybe, but whatever. European competition or not, Paul Pogba will be there. Yesterday, Marchisio spoke about Paul Pogba. He said, look, Paul Pogba has one big step to do. Healing mentally before healing physically, because he had a really difficult year, and with the injuries, but also what happened off the field. You remember it, with all that kidnapping story and so on, the family story that was really hard. But he said Paul Pogba is a phenomenon since he was already really young. Spoke about Paul Pogba, spoke about Ealing Jr., that he was really happy to see someone from the next gen arriving there. Spoke about the differences between Fagioli and Kvaratskhelia, that they have the same age, but Kvaratskhelia is already a step ahead, saying that it's not a problem of Juve that is trying to invest, but a problem of Italy, because they are not investing enough in the youth system. And he spoke about other things, that he regretted that they were not going to the final of Europa League when we were eliminated with Benfica, that famous year of the 102 points. This is one of the big regrets, because he really wants Juventus to win a European competition. That would be important for the veterans, for the senior of Juventus, but especially for the young ones, that winning a European competition can unlock themselves mentally of Juventus not winning in Europe since so many years. Well, we already spoke about Sule, that if Juventus wins the Europa League, well, he will not be there to lift the trophy, because he will be with the under-20 of Europa League, but we are looking for the replacement, not Ealing Jr., because he's already there. He's already there, and we know it. He will not go with England. He will stay and will try to replicate what he did in the last game against Atalanta. But we are looking at a few players, Yildiz and Sekulov. Sekulov already a protagonist with the next gen team. Yildiz, that is a protagonist with the under-19, with the Primavera, that already played a few games with the next gen until next gen was eliminated from the playoff because they didn't reach it. Well, these two can potentially integrate the first team to replace Sule after Cremonese. Look, I'm happy for both of them, absolutely. maybe a bit more happy for Sekulov, because I already spoke with him. I already did a live with Sekulov where he told me when he was called up against Inter, he said that night in San Siro was really a dream. Remember, we won that game against Inter, just to remember you. Well, I would support for Sekulov. Of course, I would be super happy for Yildiz as well. That is a future talent, but step by step. Let's see. Let me know, guys, in your comment what you thought about that video, if it's still a bit more clear or not, if you still have some doubts about Giuntoli, about the Plusvalenza case, about the possible -9. Let me know about the future with Giuntoli, with the new team, Pogba, and the young players that will arrive here this season to try to compete for silverware, but especially already thinking about the future, with or without European competition. Grazie, forza, Juve.